somebody from local community action in government at a time when, when you see the federal government shutting down over a policy disagreement, it shows you just how broken things are. Can you imagine a city government, council and the mayor can't get along? Just saying, we're just gonna shut down the city for a while. We regret that we will not be able to deliver water to your tap for the next few weeks while we argue about this. But we really hope you'll reelect us next year. No! Let me run out of town on a rail. And it's just one example of how we need to get Washington to start looking a little more like our best-run cities and towns before it goes the other way around.
Yes.
I'd also be value in having leadership emerge from a mid-sized community, an industrial community. There's something that my city of South Bend has in common with a lot of communities from coast to coast, be they small rural areas or industrial cities like mine, or even some neighborhoods in our biggest cities. It all have this one quality in common. And it's young people growing up hearing the message that success means leaving, means getting away from the hometown that created it. That was definitely a message that I took on board growing up. I don't remember anybody ever saying it. We just kind of understood. It soaked into me when I was being driven to school by my dad and passing through whole districts of just crumbling auto factories, or seeing in our neighborhoods the collapsing houses that laid out what our city was up against. And yet our city today is growing again. I'm so proud of South Bend. I hope you get to see it. Maybe some of you have. You've seen what we've been able to do. All right, we got some South Bend folks. We know what we're up against. We haven't solved every problem by a long shot. But you look at the trajectory of a city that was informed by national reporters at the beginning of this decade that we were dying. It is now growing at the fastest clip we've seen in a generation. It shows you what can be done. Not by somebody coming along beating his chest saying, I alone can fix it, but by drawing people together around our highest values and making sure that we recognize that it's going to take courage and honesty to face the future. But that if we get it right, change is something we can master and use to make our lives better. The change is not something to be stopped. That is neither desirable nor is it possible. But rather, as we see these changes that are coming our way, ready or not, these changes to our economy, to our society, to our politics, they are upon us. The changes to our climate are upon us. So what are we going to do about it? It may be comforting to pretend that they can end, but that is a disservice to all of us, and it is especially a disservice to the generations to come. So instead, let's focus our efforts on making sure the changes work for us instead of the other way around. That's what this is about. That's what the right kind of government can do. That's what I believe our message of freedom and security and democracy is all about. But I promise not to subject you to too long of a monologue. I aim not to have you experience a rerun of stuff you've probably already seen me say on TV. So I'm just going to pick up that mic and open that bottle of water and let's have a conversation. You'll see a few of our volunteers. They have mics. They're holding them up high now. They will come to you as we call on questions. I'll do my best to kind of cover different parts of the room. I'm going to start right over here. Go ahead. And please introduce yourself when you ask your question, too.
Hold it. Thank you very much. My name is Sue Chadwick, and I'm an ACLU voter. There are two issues that are that I'm very passionate about. One is reproductive rights. The other is the criminal justice system. As president, what will you do to protect reproductive rights and to get rid of the Hyde Amendment? And also, will you commit to reducing incarcerations by 50%?
Thank you. First of all, I just want to let you know, it is pretty impressive how mobilized the ACLU voters are, and that's very exciting. There's no better time to get commitments out of people running for office than before the election. So, and I'm strongly with you on both of those issues. So when it comes to reproductive rights, this is a challenging issue where I come from. I come from a very conservative community. socially conservative anyway. And there are people that I respect, and even people who support me who view this issue differently than I do. But in my view, this is an example of why there's a lot more to freedom than the idea of cutting taxes and regulations and shrinking government. Freedom also is in the most intimate and vulnerable parts of our lives.
Yes.
And the reason that I am pro-choice is that I believe that a woman facing that situation, wherever it is kind of in her story, has enough that she's got to deal with in consulting with her conscience, in consulting with her doctor, and in consulting with anyone else whose counsel she believes will help her make a good decision. What is not helpful is the intervention of a male government official telling her what she ought to do. When it comes to policies like the Hyde Amendment, it begins with understanding from the top on down that reproductive care is health care, treating it and funding it accordingly.
Yes.
Now, when it comes to incarceration, especially as regards the failed war on drugs, what we're learning is that policies that may have come out with, policies that were created by people who believed that they were dealing with the harm done by drugs, wound up leading to incarceration that does greater harm than the drugs themselves. I mean, drugs create terrible public health consequences. But when we criminalize addiction, we are creating the very kinds of trauma that make a lot of patterns of exclusion and addiction and mental health challenges and poverty and racial disparities. We're making those generational. And they wind up going from one generation to the next. And so we have got to reduce incarceration, starting by when we take steps in a more enlightened way to have nonviolent drug offenses have more common sense sentencing or legalization of marijuana. We also have to look. We also have to look at expungement that gets people out of incarceration. The last thing I would mention about this is that it is a lot harder to fix this issue when you have an industry that has a financial interest in more people being incarcerated. So we've got to move away from that.
Thank you. My name is Charlene Joyce, and I live in New Hampton, which covers Dover. And if I were to talk about all of the concerns I have about the current administration, we'd be here for a week.
Yeah.
But instead, I'd really like to turn the mic over to my 90-year-old friend Pat, who is the most succinct and most spot-on person who has been voting since the day of Harry Truman.
Wow.
Because I think she has a lot to offer us. So here you go, Pat.
Been voting since President Harrison.
Truman.
I'm Pat Prevention, I'm from New Hampton. I've never missed an election since I was 21.
Wow.
When I had to go and read a part of the Constitution to be able to become a voter. I just would like to tell you that I'm very proud of you for running to be our president. Who's going to be able to stand up and take all the insults that's going to be thrown to you by the person in the White House, who I never mention his name. I've seen all the presidents run, and I am absolutely sick of the situation we have, not for myself, but for the grandchildren and their grandchildren. I was brought up during World War II, and I saw what could happen. And I would think that you are a person that can stand up and talk for us and what we believe in and what you believe in, which is very important to everybody. And I know that all the insults that are going to be thrown